I want to give another recommendation today for this book, Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, because this is the book that I've used to start my kids on reading. I'm no mom that is trying. I don't feel like I'm. Sometimes there's some perception about. Maybe you don't feel this. When moms share recommendations about things, I feel like sometimes moms, and myself included, sometimes tend to get a little bit on the defensive, like, oh, so are their kids better than mine or smarter than mine? Because that mom, she's so obsessed with trying to make her kids do this and that, like she's starting them early on this or that. I don't know if you can relate to that. Maybe you can't. Maybe what I'm saying sounds crazy. But anyway, I've been there before, feeling a little bit defensive when people offer recommendations of things to get my kid, I don't know. I don't have a specific example at the moment to use, but I'm going to preface this with saying we've used this when trying to help with my kids reading at home, because when my 6-year-old was 3, coming up on turning 4, he asked to learn math problems and reading. And you might say, well, you're just lucky because your kid's a genius or whatever. Like, not all kids ask for that. I'm like, I get that. So what I'm going to say is, the way I interact with my kids is I've always kind of tended to view them as little adults in training. And I don't, this one right here needs a lot of training. But anyway, I've just never been really good at babying them. And not that anyone tries to be good at that. I've never really been one to talk to my kids in a baby voice. I'm not a super cuddly person. I just like to hit the ground running and getting stuff done. So being a mom for the little kid stage has been hard for me. We'll save that for another lesson or another video. But anyway, I'm recommending this because when I started talking with my son about anytime I answer all questions. I've never really gotten tired of answering questions because I tend to give them more information than they want. Or if they'll ask me a question, I'll give them the real answer about the question instead of explaining some things too, simple enough for them. Because sometimes if you explain it a little too complicated, they don't ask more questions about it. Anyway, that's helped them learn and grow and advance a little bit more than they probably otherwise would have. So in some ways that's awesome, but in some ways there's a downside to that. There's pros and cons to every bit of parenting. But so he started asking about words, and I said, would you like to try reading? And I wondered if he's ready, I guess I should start with something. Then I realized, wait, shouldn't it be my role as a parent to teach my kid how to read before he goes to school? I feel like we've kind of lost that. Like parents, in a lot of ways, I hear of a lot of parents just expecting that the schools are going to give their kids everything they need. But I feel like more intentional parents tend to recognize school's not going to give them everything they need. So I looked into recommendations, and a friend recommended this, so I'm recommending it. But you want that game? Okay, wait a minute. I'll get you that game, okay? This book is so simple and easy to use. Yes, how about I get you Pop the Pig instead? Because In a Pickle is a little too difficult for you. You can have Pop the Pig. It walks you through exactly how to teach your kid how to read every lesson. And every lesson is like 10 to 20 minutes, depending on your child and depending on the lesson. And, yep, there are the burgers. Pop the Pig is another fun game for a child this age. But can get exhausting sometimes. So anyway, he started into the lessons, and he got bored after after like the first 30 of them, decided we just kind of lost track of it and didn't keep up with it. But it gave him this foundation that when he started school, again, I'll save that for another video too. When he started school, he was ready to keep going with whatever the teacher discussed with them. And he had a foundation solid enough after 30 lessons that he was already reading the way he needed to be before kindergarten. So my 4-year-old daughter, during this quarantine time, because this is the time of the COVID-19 epidemic, we'll discuss that in a different video. She I said, I told her all the benefits of if she could learn how to read and how it would help her. And I said, would you like to start learning how with this book? And she said, yes. So as we started, she got so excited and pumped up with the success she was seeing from each lesson. She started asking to do 2 or 3 lessons each day. And for the beginning ones, that's easier because they're a little bit shorter. Once you get farther into your capabilities, the child is then reading a story, like a full-page story. So those would take longer, and she's only been doing 1 a day now. But in the first 3 weeks of quarantine, she went through about 50 lessons. And so was already reading. By the time your child finishes this book, they're reading at a solid 2nd grade level. It's true. I'm seeing it. So she got to that point, and then we backed it off to about 2 lessons a day, and then now down to 1 lesson a day. But we're not perfect at it. We don't hit it every day. But when we're doing school stuff, most days of the week, she asks to do a lesson, and I sit down with her and we do it. And she's now at lesson 86 in the 2.5 months of quarantine. And she is reading so well. And I'm just blown away at how awesome of a resource this is. So it's totally worth it. Found it on Amazon. I like used books because they have character. So I bought, this is like a really old copy and has some typos and stuff in it. It's not perfect. In fact, as a parent, I think I like this because it helps you to be intentional about teaching your child to read. So you can even cater it to, there aren't any more burgers in there. Oh, there's a burger. You have to be intentional, and you can be flexible in meeting the needs of your child, because not every child learns the same. What? Do you want more burgers in there? Okay, well, you put the burgers in through the mouth, remember? Like this. Put them in. And then we push the head down to pop the pig. Pop it. Okay, new burger. Good. But sometimes there are a couple of typos in this edition. They probably have fixed that in the more current editions. But also, I've had to recognize I have to adjust how I share the instructions for each activity with her, because she's a super high energy, fun loving, silly girl. And the repetition of some of it, she's like, I already know that, Mom, and starts to get bothered. So then I have to read ahead a little bit and figure out, what does she already know? How can I cater this to her? And it's made it super easy. So we don't follow all the lessons to the letter as far as reading instructions go, but that's where I get to come in and be the parent teacher. So if you're wanting to be an intentional parent, help your child to read, even if maybe they're in 1st or 2nd grade and struggling, take them back to this. It's a good foundation. So highly recommend it. Feel free to reach out, comment below if you have questions, but I just wanted to share that and hope that offers value to you in your life and your child, because it's so empowering to your child to learn how to read and have a good foundation. And it's so empowering as a parent to feel like you can teach your child difficult things, and to watch them learn is awesome. Super rewarding, because parenting is not always rewarding. You know what I mean.